Good afternoon, Friday people, on a sombre Sunday afternoon here in London, some 36 hours after the appalling massacre in Paris. All of us giving out enormous support because that's what we have to do in the face of terror, and we are frightened. I, as you may know, was on the London Tube when it was bombed. 52 people were killed. And although I was never in danger, it was a scary experience, and I understand some of the immediate implications. First is that sadly a lot of people will think twice about going to the wonderfully romantic city of Paris with its boulevards and its walks and its river and its parks and its public buildings, all of which are unguarded and unsupervised. It's not like London at all, and that's a great shame. My twin sister and I were planning a big birthday in April of next year, and we were thinking about a few nights in Paris. I haven't spoken to her yet about how she feels about that. I hope we go, but I can't speak for anything and anybody other than myself. So that's the first thing. The second and more serious implication, I think, is that all Muslims will be stigmatised, thereby encouraging religious and racist backlashes and attacks, which will only feed the jihadist fantasy that somehow the West is all against them, and will therefore recruit even more people from the Muslim communities in France and Belgium and here in the UK. Our right-wing press is already at it. Disgraceful headlines this morning on the Mail on Sunday, sorry to use bad language on the internet, about the jihadists got in as fake refugees. It seems that one of them may well have done that. And even worse, I think in some ways, because it's a little bit more subtle, this is the Sunday Express, after all the pages of coverage, an invitation to a poll. And the question is, what do you think? Does uncontrolled immigration make us a terror target? Well, I've heard of when did you stop beating your wife questions, but that gives away the feeling in the UK, I must say, on Thursday and Friday before this attack, in various social medias and live TV programmes, the feelings against letting in any other Muslim peoples, even from Syria. I mean, here in the UK we promised to take, I think, 20,000 over 5 years. It won't happen. Everything will be put in their way so they go somewhere else, because no political party will rise to this threat. Why should all Muslims be stigmatised? In my schools I've got wonderful, wonderful 22, 23-year-old Muslim men and women. Recently I've encountered trainee Muslim doctors in our local hospitals. Just amazing. Third generation perhaps, people striving, overachieving, paying their taxes, making their way, good family people, hard-working family people, as the Tories would have it, all going to be stigmatised and painted with the same brush. It's not good. Thirdly, I think European nations will be even more reluctant to take refugees in case they are jihadists, forgetting, of course, that they are, particularly those coming from Syria and Iraq, escaping the very evilness that we're then accusing them of. We have to mature up and take that on board. Next implication, I think, is that what's called the Snoopers Charter here will be given a better chance of being passed into law, because the clear failure of the intelligence services, not just in France, but presumably in Britain and the United States, who had no information to pass to the French, enabled this thing to happen. And I think, therefore, the members of Parliament here will pass the new law, which I think only legitimises what the intelligence services have been doing illegally for a long time, which is collecting all our data so that they can keep us safe. But it's a tricky slope. Next, the House of Commons here will not even be asked, I'm sure now, to sanction the bombing of Syria as against just Iraq, by our 3 or 4 fighter bombers in the Middle East, because the jihadists in Paris were shouting that this was revenge for Syria. We don't want to bring that upon ourselves, and I'm sure the British government will not bring that question again to the House of Commons. It got sorely defeated a little while back. They really don't want to go there again. And finally, those who took Britain to war in Iraq on false information and stirred up this whirlwind of terror might ask themselves again if all the perfumes of Arabia can ever wash the smell from their hands. Have a good week. Bye bye for now.